We're going to get started. This panel is designed to provide everyone in this room and the attendees that will watch online with information and tips and resources on how to find alternative funding and to utilize pitch competitions, grants, and other sources of financing. So let's introduce our panel right now. And please come up. Corey Pena, she's with the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation. Josh Mena. Did I say that? Okay. He's with McAllen Chamber of Commerce. And last but not least, Nadia Bowman-Turner with TNT Catering and Events, SPI Luxury Eat Picnics by Nadia. And she was our South Texas winner for our pitch competition last year. Thank you everybody for being here. Corey and Josh, I'm gonna target y'all first. Can you explain the difference between a small business grant and a pitch competition, please?
Hello again. Can you hear me? I hate these things. So I have a better voice just going out. But hello, good morning again. So for us, we do both. But for what the difference is for us in a pitch competition, the pitch competition, you're actually in front of judges, you're in front of a live audience. And so you're given a time limit to actually talk about your product, your concept, and you're selling it to the judges as well as to the audience. For a small grant, it's all black and white, it's on a piece of paper. So you're trying to sell yourself in your words. So in a pitch competition, it's unique because you have your pitch deck, so you can go by that, but you get to express yourself, which is really nice. We just did our third pitch competition in June, and it's our first time doing it on audience. So it was fun to have that engagement, because the previous two we had to do it virtually.
How much money was given in that pitch competition?
$25,000 for one winner.
Wow.
In the previous competitions, it was 5 winners at $20,000 each. So this one we wanted to try, because we're always trying to, see what works, what's improving. So this one was winner takes all.
That's amazing. Who can use $25,000 right now?
Yeah.
I think I would just add to that. I think grants are very specific as well. You can use grants for marketing, for expos, travel. There's a lot of simple grants out there that you can utilize for those specific needs. Pitch competitions, like Corey mentioned, you're in front of a live audience. In most cases, you're in front of a judging panel. Pitch competitions, though, are very good activities to be able to get you prepared for an angel investment forum, a venture capital investment forum. So depending on how you would like to scale up, those pitch competitions are typically great. And the learning experience from it, even if you don't become a winner or selected investee, you still get a lot of value from it. So it's always encouraging to see the public sector participate in these pitch competitions, because it's a great learning environment for you to be able to get ready to speak to an investor.
You don't know who you're in front of at a pitch competition. So you don't know, you may not, like you said, you may not become the winner, but you might actually sold your concept to an investor that's in the audience. And a lot of times that is where the angel investors do come. They come to the pitch competitions.
That's a big deal, because it's hard to get in front of an angel investor.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to do that. So that's a very good point.
Yeah. I also would suggest that if you see a pitch competition, online or in the news, go to it, because that's another opportunity for you. Even though if you're not on stage, it's another opportunity for you to meet other people. And again, you never know who you're going to shake your hands with.
Well, Nadia, you won the pitch competition for the Governor's Commission for Women last year. And so what was that like? Was that your first pitch competition?
Yes, ma'am. It was my very first pitch competition.
And what was that like for you?
Well, it was challenging, because you only have a certain amount of time to express and convey and relate everything, your business and what you're about. So they ask you different questions as far as how do you engage with your community, what it is, what is it that you do, what does your business do, what makes you different, what makes you stand out. And so having, express yourself in, 50 words or less, that's very difficult. So you are very pressured to convey the right message to the judges and the panel. So that was probably one of the most difficult things for me because I talk a lot. A lot. So trying to put everything into, counting my words and going back, that was probably one of the biggest challenges for me.
You gotta make sure you have a hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first impression hook.
Say that again.
Yeah, in your first impression, you make sure you have a hook so that you have already engaged when you're talking. That's another difference between a pitch competition and a small grant is, small grant, you have different opportunities to keep telling your story. And whoever's reviewing the application can reread all the what's on the application. But for a pitch competition, you have 5-7 minutes,
Yes.
and that is it. So make sure you have your hook.
Yeah, the big difference is a pitch competition is in person or visual, and the grant is paperwork. I mean, you're filling out, you have to fill out the paperwork for the grant. Now that has a different set of constraints, I would say. But, Nadia, how much did you practice your pitch?
Actually, none, believe it or not. I actually didn't practice. I just, they asked me to do a video, and so I told my story through the video, and I just went at it.
You're the one take wonder. She's the one take
I was
wonder.
the one take wonder.
That's
I
amazing.
moved it, and I nailed it. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, you should
I
be
was
really
happy.
proud of yourself.
It came at the right time because COVID was just, it was just the pandemic was almost over. And so what I put into the pitch competition was all the struggles that I went through throughout the pandemic and, being so proud of our business and of our family for deciding to stay open throughout the pandemic and never shutting down. We ended up losing a lot of employees due to the unemployment, but we struggled to keep it together and, to keep going. And so we were the only restaurant, I believe, in our area that offered free in-house delivery. We didn't use Favor, no Grubhub, nothing like that. So everything we did was in-house with our own vehicles. We converted our servers into delivery drivers, and we kept everybody employed until later they chose to leave when they saw, business was booming, it was great. It's still great. We shifted, we pivoted, because that was one of the things, what was one of the business pivots that you did throughout the pandemic, and that was from converting a dine-in restaurant into just curbside and delivery. We then developed a program that was called Meals on Wheels. So what we did was, for all those kids that were at home doing online studying, we would deliver breakfast and lunch to them, so the parents wouldn't have to worry about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Amazing. You did such a good job. Now, I'm gonna go to the grants. What, if somebody was interested in a grant that spoke to their business model, what are some common mistakes and challenges that they need to be aware of so that they don't fall into those, or make those mistakes?
Yeah, okay, can you hear me?
I think it's on.
Yeah. Y'all can hear me, right?
Speak right into it.
Okay.
Okay.
I think one is, in the application that we see, is they just go on and on and on in their application, but they really are not saying what their concept is and how that concept is fitting in the community, in the nation, or international. How is your concept fitting a need out there? Another one is we have the option of putting your pitch deck onto the application. Surprisingly, most don't do that. And it's unfortunate because that's another selling tool of you getting, reviewed and getting selected to move on. So I would definitely suggest, answer every question, make sure you have your spelling. It's really key on that. But also, if anything that's optional, include it, because that's just another opportunity for you to sell.
That's a really good point. How many people are small business owners in the audience? Okay, that's a lot, which is great. God bless you. May the force be with you,
Yeah.
always, okay? It's not an easy world to navigate as a small business owner. And, if you're gonna go for a grant or for a pitch competition or anything, I think the biggest thing is a pitch deck regardless.
Yeah.
You need to have a pitch deck. Because what that will do is that will help you become concise in your delivery of whatever you do. It will help you get really clear about your audience. It will help you speak to your audience even more. And then you have it at a moment's notice when somebody needs it. Because somebody could say, hey, I was in your shop, or I was at, I heard you talk, or I saw you at a pitch competition, or whatever, and they said, you know what, I know somebody that wants to invest, I want to tell people about it, or I want to tell my whole congregation, or I want to tell the schools, or whoever their network is, and they need something to hand out. And if you have something on the spot or ready to go, you can get that word out the fastest. So
It looks professional.
it looks professional,
Yeah.
absolutely. In terms of a pitch competition, how much research do you think is important to do about the judges, your audience, and things like that?
I think the more preparation you put into your work, I think it'll always play well in your favor. I think what we should do as small business owners, at least in this 4-county area, is really think beyond of just the norm of what we see, right? You want to be able to strive to scale up, and you always want to have that pitch deck ready. A lot of at least in our case, we try to get judges that best align with the folks down here. We don't want to just bring a judge that is thinking about that 10X company that's going to make tens of millions of dollars, right? That's not really the market that we have here yet. But you still want to prepare and aspire to get there. And so preparing yourself to understand what the judges are looking for, what kind of social impacts they're looking for, if it's something that can become scalable, know that you could start a business and place yourself in the category of a mom and pop shop, but if you have something that you can commercialize, if you have something that's innovative, if you have something that's patentable, IP protected, then that's something that's going to really be that hook or that pitch that Corey was talking about earlier, right? That's something that you can use as leverage that absolutely any judge is going to be keen on. And at least in the mixture of what we try to do in our judging panels, we try to get those folks that are thinking like investors and those folks that could potentially be mentors to you in order to scale up that business.
I would also say too, our judges, we don't really disclose who our judges are until probably a couple days before the event, just so we can keep it genuine. They don't review the applications. Our applications are reviewed in-house along with our partners at UTRGV. But I would say that look at our videos from our past competitions. So that's another way to research. So you can kind of get the feel of how they presented, and you also will get your do's and don'ts on that as well.
Practice makes perfect, and just because let's say you've never done a pitch competition, but you need the money, right?
We all do.
We all need the money. You're a small business owner, I promise you need the money. So, but it's scary. I mean, it's terrifying to get up and talk to people or pitch what you do, because it's like your little baby, and they're gonna tear it apart.
As a
Right?
matter of fact, there is a pitch competition happening later today, this evening, in Westlaco at the Center for Commercialization and Innovation. So in case you want to, become aware of what that pitch competition looks like, I encourage everybody to do that and to look into that pitch event happening tonight.
Absolutely, and there's one here after the event today. So you can actually get 2 down in one day,
There we go.
which is that doesn't happen all the time. The other thing is that if you're scared to do it, I encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
If you're scared and nervous to do a pitch competition, enroll yourself in a pitch competition. Because you will learn faster that way than any other way. And you will find out what is missing in your pitch, and how to get better immediately. It will, forgive me for the lack of, the pain of going through that and the burn will make sure it heals. It will heal faster and better because of going through that fire, so to speak. So I encourage everybody to go through a pitch competition if you can. In terms of grants and alternative funding. Now, grants are an interesting thing. Not everybody qualifies for a grant.
Yeah, and IRA qualifies for a pitch competition
No,
as well.
no, they don't.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's no hope, because there will be a pitch competition for you somewhere
Yeah.
across the state. So don't just limit yourself to, this area, because there are pitch competitions across the state that are open to statewide. So, let's talk about alternative funding. Because not everybody, how many people are looking for angel investors on their, okay, one. Is that one? Raise your hand. That's not a big deal too. Okay, so not everybody, some people are looking for investors, and some people aren't. And so you really want to be clear about that, about your business model. And I'd like for y'all to talk about what kind of resources there are in this area that can help business owners. One, if they want to find investors, and then two, if they're bootstrapping it and they need cash, a grant, alternative types of funding, things like that. So let's talk about that.
So we have one person that's looking for angel investment, but I just want to know with the raise of hands.
Two people.
Or two people, there might have been another one across. With the raise of hands, how many of you are saving your money to be able to get to that next step in your business? Okay, great. So there are some resources out there in the Rio Grande Valley that will match your dollars to kind of fill in that gap to get you to your objective much faster, right? These are reimbursable grants. As a matter of fact, Corey Pena in Brownsville, if you're looking at establishing a business in downtown Brownsville, there's a reimbursement grant there where she'll match whatever you're committing to be able to get you to that downtown destination. The same thing is applicable in McAllen as well. We have that match grant to be able to help you with those capital improvements. We understand that, as I think it's part of our culture to try to bootstrap and save a nickel and dime, and I think the last thing I would want to do is walk to a bank and owe money to somebody, right? But there are some resources out there, and the good thing about the programming that both Corey and Brownsville is doing and what we're doing in McAllen is that we provide that educational piece as well for you to encounter those necessary modules that are going to help you understand how you can leverage debt instead of keeping that connotation or that perception that debt's always a bad thing, and it really isn't. If you want to grow and accelerate quick, you're going to have to learn how to debt leverage, right? And the ultimate goal of the programming that we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's for folks to understand how to work with investors in the safest way possible with less liability. And so I encourage everybody, and I spread this message, think big. The possibilities are endless here in the Rio Grande Valley now. You don't have to leave the valley to be able to access these resources. And if you don't access these resources now, I can guarantee you the funds will be used for something else. So the time is now.
If I could ask, how many people have reached out to your local university, done the Kauffman? Does anybody know what the Kauffman is, or accelerator program? Those are another opportunity for, if you have a business concept and you're just in your ideal phase, it's a great way to reach out, and your local economic development offices can help guide you into, those available resources. So that way your idea that's in your head can be put on paper and can be fleshed out, because there could be things that you haven't thought of. So that's another opportunity. And from there, you have an opportunity probably to get a small business grant or go to a pitch competition from that. I think also, if you've ever heard of crowdfunding, it's not my favorite because you have to really have something already available online that you already can you're in that stage of your business.
The resources that y'all provide, is there a fee?
Most of it's
Well-
not. I mean, there is some, it's depending on what you're trying to get out of and where you're at in your business. There are so many free business resources out there. You know, you got your Small Business Development Center who can help with a business plan. Kaufman, we sponsor. So if you're in the Brownsville area, we sponsor Kaufman's. We do for a year with our friends at UTRGV. They're the ones who facilitate it. And we're gonna actually be doing that in our eBridge Center for Business and Commercialization. That will be opening very soon in downtown Brownsville. So that is eBridge is a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs and small business. So you'll have access to all the programs and resources, admin office, access to us, access to UTRGV's Entrepreneurship and Commercialization Center. So there's opportunities, and each community has an opportunity. You just really, my suggestion is, you know, go to your local economic development office, go to your chamber, go to an SBA office, ask, like you said, ask.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that is, just so that, you know, it gets people moving, right? They're free with an asterisk. A Kaufman will typically cost you about $700, if I'm not mistaken. We subsidize that, or at least, you know, Corey's organization subsidizes. We in McAllen, we subsidize. We have an accelerator program with our good friends and partners at ExxonMobil now. That's a $3,000 commitment from a small business. Now, a small business is serious about accelerating and ultimately pitching to a venture capitalist or an angel investor. We cover that. So it's free for you as long as you commit through the educational resources, become aware of what's going on, so that way you can get ready for that. So again, the resources are there, but if we don't have the engagement levels that we need, it's very easy for somebody to say, you know what, let's focus our resources somewhere else. So that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. There are so many fantastic resources across the state, and definitely in this area. I mean, the fact that you're gonna match what you save to go invest, you know, to start a business, oh my God, that's incredible. I mean, that does not happen everywhere, I'm gonna tell you right now. It just doesn't happen, and that is a very nice local, so whoever put that together and made sure that there was financing for that, it needs to be taken advantage of. Because you're right, Josh, it will go somewhere else
Yeah.
if it's not.
Happens everywhere.
Yeah, so what I'll tell you is that, you have to get out and network and find out what's going on. So it can be extremely daunting and overwhelming, and the waves can be crashing on you as a small business owner. And the best thing to do is go outside, get involved in your community, talk to people, sign up on your SBDC, find your local SBDC, your Chamber of Commerce, your community developments, your universities, and get on their newsletters so you are updated on everything that they're providing. Because they provide free QuickBooks, they provide free online marketing, they provide, you know, Excel spreadsheet classes. Much less, I mean, just like basic stuff to all the way to helping pitch competitions and
Yeah.
grants.
I mean, networking is really important. There's also, like, do you still host the Million Cups?
Yep.
And we'll be hosting a Million Cup every Wednesday at 9 a.m. It's an opportunity for businesses to come together and network. And two of the businesses, they have a problem that needs to be solved, or they're just talking about their business. But that's a great opportunity to get in front of people and shake hands again. The Million Cups, it's part of a Kaufman. Million Cups is just, it's nationwide. And so what's great about that is, you know, different communities host it. McAllen hosts one, we'll be hosting, Brownsville will be hosting one very shortly. And it's every Wednesday, same time, same place. And it's two businesses every week. It's every week as well. And so it's an opportunity to, you know, ask if you could be one of the two that, you know, talks about their business. But also it's just an opportunity for you to go and shake hands with people You know, it's so important to network and get your business out there, because you just don't know who you're gonna meet.
Another part of networking is that if you're involved in whatever your business is, typically has an association, or your community has an association like Lions Club or Rotary or the Chamber of Commerce or something like that. And that is so vital for you to be a part of it for a couple of reasons. One, networking, but then also you find out what is the American Express saying? There's benefits in membership, and the benefit of being a member of your association or paying those fees is that you get access to what's happening in the world and in your community before, let's say, everybody else knows about it. So you get an idea of how you have to pivot, or where you're set up to launch, and you need to start adding in either employees or stocking up or whatever you need to do to be successful in those moments in time. So that's really important.
I do
Nadia?
have to say, I have been a member of various chambers of commerce. I joined the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce in July, and let me tell you, they work hard. Out of all the chambers that I've been a member of, they never literally stop working for you. I get emails at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I found your business in the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce website, and so kudos to them, because I am a very proud member of the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce.
Make sure when you do have a membership, you take advantage of it. Just don't pay your dues, because business is not gonna come to you. You do have to work at it. And that is importance of being part of a chamber or a Rotary and all that, is you're paying to be in front of them, but it's also business to business. That's how you get your business and sell it, and vice versa. But you've got to take advantage of your membership. You can't just pay it and then,
Expect for it to.
expect it to work for you. You have to work for it.
How many people are bootstrapping their business right now? Okay. Save to invest. You're always gonna have to save to invest as a business owner. So if, it doesn't matter how, if you're 10 years, 20 years, you don't know the waves that are around the corner that will come crashing. And so you're always having to save. What I'll tell you is that, the pitch competitions, the grants, the crowdsourcing, or the angel investors, you're still gonna have to save. You still have to save. But the most important thing also is to manage your credit. How important is credit and your line, and building a line of credit?
Yeah, especially if you are eventually want to be bankable. You definitely have to make sure your credit is up there. Because what we have found, especially in the Valley, is a lot of these businesses, when they're ready to go to that next step and they want to go to that financial institute, they're not bankable because their credit is not up to par, and they don't have the assets to get that loan. So credit is really important. Also, building your assets is very important. It's important to, the equipment and all that stuff, because that's an asset. So those things are important.
FICO scores are always going to be super critical, whether you're in business or not. Based on some of the data that I've seen, the Valley, and this is something that I feel has hindered a lot of our population, or our population segment, is that minorities tend to be at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to receiving traditional lending. For whatever reason, that could be a whole conversation, it could be a whole nother day. But you do have organizations like CDFIs that do take FICOs into consideration, but they do take ICOs. Community Foundation Development, I just lost the acronym right now, but People Fund, Live Fund, not your traditional lenders like Chase, Wells Fargo. These are nonprofit organizations that are focused on lending. They use other metrics to be able to compensate for what a bank traditionally won't compensate for. And where I was getting at is I wanted to just put focus on another program that Corey has, which is similar to a CDFI, but it's far more flexible as well. And that's something to take advantage.
Yeah, that's our E-Bridge Fund. Our E-Bridge Fund is a revolving loan that we received $2 million from the EPA. So what's great about our revolving loan is we're competitive to our local banking institutes. And the E-Bridge Fund is all Cameron County wide. We are stationed out of Brownsville, but that's another thing that we can actually help any community, any business within Cameron County. And so we do look at your credit scores, but it's not quite, the judging of it. I do forget. So we look at the concept, how many jobs you're going to create, because that is the key for us. We have to have job creation for that revolving loan, which is called E-Bridge Fund. So we've had it for a year, going on a year now, and we have helped about 9 businesses and have invested about $1.7 million into the community, back into the community for these businesses. So it helps with your capital, your equipment, getting your business, if you're moving into another property, if you have to make improvements, so it helps with that. And it's a great way to leverage it towards another grant we have, which is our Business Improvement and Growth Grant for downtown. So there's opportunities, and a lot of communities have these different opportunities where you can actually stack these things.
Are those for startup companies as well, or?
Startup, scaling, yeah.
It's working capital and fixed assets.
Yeah. So it's called E-Bridge Fund. So if you're in Cameron County, check it out. It's on our website, brownsvilleedc.org. Thanks for the plug.
I think we're right at our time, so if there are any last, okay, great. We can get to great, awesome. Let's, I know we have some questions in the audience. Yes, sir.
I want to go back to you mentioned the savings account. For that savings account, how long does that savings account have to be established for? And what's the max that you guys would lend up to?
It varies. For the savings account, it doesn't matter. I mean, I prefer, we ask for 2 years of financials, and that financials doesn't actually have to be business, it can be personal. So we look at that. And it's up to, it's because it's with a property, so you have to be going into downtown with a property. So it varies on what the property is, what you're looking to improve in the property. So it's up to, I want to say, we just changed it this week, new fiscal year. So we have, it's close to $45,000.
And you said that's for digital property.
Yeah, we're looking for downtown investment. We're, as part of an ADO for Brownsville, one of our missions is for downtown revitalization. So we want to activate the buildings for downtown because it's just another opportunity. Downtown is the second most historic sites in Texas, so it's a win-win for a lot of people.
So I just want to clarify, you don't have to have a property downtown right now. It's if you want to establish a business downtown.
If you want to be a tenant.
If you want to be a tenant in downtown Brownsville.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that clear. So if you're thinking of your business and you want to bring it to downtown Brownsville.
Yeah, and a lot of
Talk to
communities
Corey.
have that for part of their downtown revitalization. They have opportunities for small businesses.
It's usually through your Economic Development Council. The city will have an EDC. The acronym is EDC, and they will, and so you can contact your local EDC. What other questions do we have?
We won't charge right now for questions.
It's free, hurry up.
Well, I guess what I would say, there's some small business clients that I love to represent. A lot of them they're rebuilding or restructuring their marketing strategic plan. And a lot of them talk about that credit score. Some of them don't even want to apply for anything because they started small, they kept it small, only work on their own cash.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of discouraging when I'm trying to come in and help them because I can see that potential.
Yeah,
And
they
try
need
to
more
see those people that wouldn't qualify for traditional lending. They are in the different types of stores, but what is the limitation? Are there any other limitations for them, to secure those, alternative funding that you mentioned, referring like the E-Bridge fund, the LIFT fund, people fund? Are there limitations for them for that type of small business owner?
Well, for eBridge, it's all about job creation. That's our little hook on that. We're looking at, are you retaining any jobs? Are you creating any jobs? We really want job creation. For Lyft and People Fund, I'm really, to be honest, I'm not too versed in that.
It's almost, so I'm probably gonna get lynched after this, but, People Fund, Lyft Fund, they're also leaning a little bit more heavy on FICO, right? Even though you can leverage more collateral with them. And you bring up an excellent point. There are a bunch of entrepreneurs, and I hope everybody's listening and takes this to heart. There are a lot of entrepreneurs here. I don't know if it's something that our parents and grandparents instilled. I mean, I remember my dad would save every dollar to just buy a vehicle instead of going to a bank to get a loan for a car. And so that stays, and I applied that as well early in my life. But I cannot stress enough the free resources that we
Yes.
have to educate, to make you aware of the possibilities. And everybody here has that potential. My goodness, the valley would change drastically in 5-10 years if we all just reach that potential. And so these educational resources will lead you to a grant that will get you, give you that proper exercise to make you prepared for when you do decide to talk to an investor or go to a pitch competition or go to a bank. Let the bank work for you and not the other way around.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell folks, right? And so that's why we have all of these micro grants and major grants. I mean, goodness, we will have up to $400,000, and you can receive grants of up to $100,000 to just get going and innovate and scale up. But if you don't make those commitments now, you're gonna probably be successful, but it's probably gonna take you a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get you there. And again, I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record now. If you don't use these resources, we can't guarantee how long they will be. But I can tell you this, all of the resources that are consolidated in the Rio Grande Valley, whether it's through your chamber, through your economic development organization, through your higher ed institutions, never before in the history of the Rio Grande Valley have we been able to consolidate as many resources as we have now, and compare that to the central part of the state, to the East Coast, to the West Coast, to Florida. Miami's doing a lot of great things. But this is the Valley, and this is Texas. And we have these resources available, so I highly encourage you all to network and connect and find out what's out there and take advantage of it.
I have 3 questions.
Yes.
Judge, you articulate initially that when you do the writing so far so on, to have a theme or concept,
Yeah.
and this, per se, you can say in plain language, like an essay.
Yeah.
To have the theme and to get the hook for the audience to be able to read and understand what was your concept. Now, as you're well aware that in the Valley, I would say about 60%, 65% of the population is ESL.
Yeah.
Therefore, I would say for those individuals to have somebody to proofread their writings, because like when I got my master's, I got to know the doctors to read my paperwork to get it final proof.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be a concept. Do you agree, disagree?
Well, there's mentorship always available, and I can tell you this, and we have another chamber here, the South Padre Island Chamber. You will not find more passionate people than those that work at a chamber in your respective community. And so I can speak on behalf of my chamber, and I can also, speak on behalf of Corey as well, because their team is phenomenal. They're gonna be there to help you become successful and win a grant or win a pitch competition. So those resources are there.
Yeah, in regards to that, as I said, we review the applications. We don't push it aside if we're like, it wasn't complete and all that stuff. We want to work. We want to flesh it out, and because we want to see everyone succeed.
Yeah.
So there is that, and every community is that way. I think really important though, if you're planning to apply, first go there and meet them and talk about your business. So that way you've already introduced yourself, so that way when your application is submitted, it's like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah, don't let that be a detriment.
Yeah.
Or an impediment.
Yeah.
My second question is for Corey. Corey, how accessible are you in your business? I know that, not to download you guys, but most of the time when you go over there to any society or any lecture, you say, I'm accessible, I'm 24/7, this is my business number, this is my aid,
Yeah.
call me, I will return your call within 24 hours. Therefore, you hallucinate those thoughts and you send emails,
Yeah.
and phone calls, and you wait over 7 days, not 24/7. So, how's the action in
Yeah,
Brown?
I'm not gonna say 24, I'm available 24 hours, I'll get back to you, because, everyone's busy. But I would definitely say we can definitely set up an appointment. And that's where we're committed on both ends, is we set up an appointment.
Well, to follow up on that one, set up an appointment, I'm proud serviceman. I spent 20 years in service. I retired Sergeant Major when my subordinates have my priority. So when I used to tell my subordinates, I would get with you, things less than 24 hours. And you say, set an appointment and talk to you. What's the time expense? Perhaps 72 hours, 7 days, a month? To be realistic.
I would say within the next couple of days is where you expect a return. And that's customer service. We have to have our customer service. Right afterwards, that's been a lot of pressure, because if I'm like going this way, but within the next day or two, we definitely are ready to, at least communicate and then have that appointment set up.
And see, like, I'm coming from Chicago. And over there, if you speak Spanish or Polish, which is not too many Polish people around here in the valley, or Chinese or Italian, it's more Hispanic. But you help those individuals coordinate and articulate and write their paperwork properly, right?
Yes.
For like the past 10 years, Corey's been doing it, so, yeah, as much as we would like to, return a phone call or text back or email back and set up something right away, it gets really tough, and I think, our turnaround time differs, but there are moments where we go above and beyond, and I can vouch for Corey on that. I've seen her work as well, and we've had a really good, pleasant experience that was shared with the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce. And believe me, we want to get back. Whenever I talk about these forums, or I'm invited to talk in these forums, I always give out my cell phone number. If you don't reach out to me, just text me. I promise I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So one of the things that drives our types of organizations right now is that we want to spend the money on these programs, because we get measured off of how many folks come in, right? So it's not that we don't want to service right away, it's that we got to go through each and every one of them so that we can put them through the pipeline.
Will that come, yes?
If I may,
Last question.
last question, it's actually a question, but then a comment as
Comment.
well. My name is David Ortiz from UTRGV, Team Manufacturing Assistance Center. I work with Josh and Corey, they have great centers. I have an announcement, we have a DOE grant going on right now, Department of Energy, now that, we're talking about grant and funding.
You said DOE, the Department of
Department of
Energy.
Energy, so if you have a business related to solar energy or alternative energy, we have funding available for going through the Kaufman Beach Academy and get technical assistance from faculty at UTRGV as well. So it's a whole program, 18 months, and so we'll be getting in touch to, have that communication.
Do you have a booth here?
We have a booth.
Great.
Yeah, you'll see it.
Fantastic.
UTRGV.
T-Mac.
That's great,
TMAC.
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 So, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much for being here. I think that was a tremendous amount of information, a very valuable information. And please network, but also network with them. And I will say, network with your local bank and banker. Find your banker and take them to lunch, or her to lunch, okay? Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the afternoon.